Good afternoon. This is John Whitehead, and I'm continuing the vlog that we started last week, which I titled Follower or Pharisee. I gave some introduction to that, and I still believe that is true, that we represent one of two things to the world, perhaps, and to those that don't know Jesus. We represent the kind of person that follows Jesus, or we represent the kind of person that stood really against Jesus in his day, Lord, the Pharisees. And my prayer is that the Church of Jesus Christ would be more concerned with following and living out an example than telling the world how they should live. And this morning I'd like to or this afternoon, I'd like to take a look at Luke chapter 7, where there's a story of a lady that comes into a dinner that Jesus was invited to at the house of a Pharisee named Simon. And this woman was obviously not welcome, first of all, by the passage as you read it. You can see that others apparently knew who she was. She was a harlot, a woman of ill repute. I heard Christine Kane said, interestingly enough, it appeared that Simon knew her, and we don't really know what that might infer, but the reality is she was well known. During the time at the dinner, she came in, she started washing Jesus' feet with her tears and wiping them with her hair. She was kissing him and clearly loving him. And this was appalling to Simon and to the others in the room at the dinner. Simon even went as far as to say if Jesus was truly a prophet of God, he would know who this woman was and he would have nothing to do with her. And so I find it interesting as I consider my life and people that I've come in contact with that I've maybe considered to be unworthy or at least someone that I didn't really want to associate with for whatever reason, whether it's the way they look or whether it's what I know they've been involved in or what they've done. And have I chosen to exclude them based on my perceptions of their life, and instead of seeing them through the eyes of Christ, which is what we're supposed to be doing as believers. Jesus goes on to examine the heart of Simon and the others there by asking a simple question in the form of a story of a tax creditor who had two people who owed him money, and one owed him 500 denarii and the other owed him 50, and he forgave both their debts. And so the question Jesus had to Simon was, which one felt the most forgiven, or as far as debt was concerned? And Simon said, well, clearly the one who was forgiven 500. And Jesus said, you have answered correctly. And then he goes on to explain to Simon that from the moment he walked in, Simon did not offer to wash his feet, did not offer to anoint him. But this woman, from the very moment she came, she has not stopped washing his feet with her tears and crying and loving and kissing him. And so the point being, I think that this woman understood the magnitude of the forgiveness that she had been shown. And the question really looking at, are we a follower or a Pharisee, is where do we fall in that mindset? Do we see ourselves as have been forgiven much? Or maybe we see ourselves as not having done much to be forgiven for. I think it would be a terrible thought to consider myself in that way, to think of myself as being so religious and so righteous or right with God that maybe I don't see myself as having that much to be forgiven for. I praise God every day for the grace and mercy that he shows me, for the love that he's given me, for the opportunity that he's allowed me to have to express myself to others in a way that demonstrates my desire to see others come to know him more. I pray that I would be a follower like the woman and not a Pharisee like Simon. But at the same time, I know that it's going to be the reflection that others see of Jesus in me that's going to determine whether I can say that or not. It's not going to be something I can look at myself and say, oh yes, I'm definitely a follower of Jesus and not a Pharisee. It's something that another person is going to look at and say, I believe he's a follower of Jesus. So my question this morning is for myself and for each of you that should desire to listen. Are you a follower or are you a Pharisee? I pray that this question gives you reason to pause. God bless you all.